Hello and welcome to another episode of Research Radio, a podcast of the Economic and Political Weekly. I'm Johan, and today we have with us Dr. A. Suresh discussing his paper titled Reinventing Agricultural Extension System in India, The Road Ahead, which he co-authored with V.K. Rajesh, R.N. Padaria, and A.K. Mohanty. Dr. A. Suresh is Principal Scientist and Professor of Agricultural Economics at the Indian Council for Agricultural Research, Central Institute of Fisheries Technology in Kochi. Thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Suresh.
Thank you very much for inviting me to be a guest in this program.
Our pleasure, sir. So, for the first question, I want to ask why is agricultural extension important? And could you tell us a little bit about the structure of the agricultural extension system in India?
Yeah, agricultural extension is important because it carries a very significant role in transferring the research and other developments that happens in the research system to the ultimate clients, that is the farmers. That's the primary purpose. So,
Mhm.
starting from our planned agricultural development, we also developed an agricultural system that caters to the acts as a link between the farmers and the research system. It was, in fact, a two-way kind of transmission mechanism where the need of the farmer was transmitted to the research clients and that is the research personnel, and the research outputs were transferred back to the farmers. So in that way, it is acting as a very important link. Then we
Mhm.
have our first target is increasing the production for the food production, and in that case, there was several activities and several kind of inputs given, and it is proved time and again that agriculture, the economic return out of agricultural extension is quite significant. For example, the total factor productivity growth. That simply we can understand that the productivity growth that was around 1.5 to 2 percentage per year for quite a long period because of the several activities that has come under the agricultural sector, particularly agricultural research and extension. It is also noted that the internal rate of returns of agricultural extension is something around 75 percentage. To have a to comparison of what the 75 percentage means, we can compare with the bank rate or interest rate. Normally, it is 10 percentage or 8
Mhm.
to 10 percentage or 12 to 13 percent, something like that. But in this particular case, we can have something up to 75 percentage of e-journal rate of return in case of agricultural extension that is on par with the reserve system, and that is quite significant compared to any standards. And
Mhm.
now coming to say what is the structure of agricultural extension in India, we have basically three type of extension infrastructure or extension structure. The number one is that it is the central government, that is under public sector. We can broadly classify this as the public and the private sector. In case of
Mhm.
public sector, that is the government funded. The major agencies under the public sector are the central government and the state government line departments, including agriculture, horticulture, irrigation departments, and all other aligned departments, and then the ICR system, that is Indian Council of Agricultural Research and its arms of extension, that is established in different parts of the country. Now,
Mhm.
coming the most important one among these is the state extension machinery, because agriculture, as we know, is a state subject. And there
Mhm.
are different kind of departments in every state. Let's say it's about agriculture, that is a crop based, and then horticulture, and maybe sericulture in some cases. And these are the departments that caters to the need of the farmers through their extension officers. And then central government, it has its own extension machinery headed by the Directorate of Agricultural Extension at New Delhi, and then different kind of other institutions available for central governments. And then coming to ICR system, Indian Council of Agricultural Research, it is established in Kuchi Vigyan Kendra in every district of India. So there
Mhm.
are scientists and subject matter experts who are dealing with the issues of farmers and taking location-specific activities and other kind of activities in different parts of the country. This is broadly the structure of agricultural extension under the private sector. And there's a public agricultural extension system is also available, starting with big companies like input companies, seeds, fertilizer companies, and several foundations of the industrial houses undertake extension activities at the field level. Other than this, there are persons, enterprises privately starting and catering to the needs. There are non-governmental organizations and consultancy firms which are catering to the needs of the farmers by the latest development in various sectors, including crop, livestock, and fisheries. This is broadly the structure of agricultural extension in India. And another aspect that what I can say, how it is becoming more important nowadays is that traditionally we were focused towards increasing the crop production. But later
Mm-hmm.
nowadays we can say the emphasis has slightly shifted towards increasing the value out of agricultural system as well as generate income to the farmers. So it's quite a significant change that is happening in the agricultural extension orientation. It doesn't
Mm-hmm.
mean
Mm-hmm.
that we have any kind of lack of focus on production. It means that we have other kind of aspects also to be attended. Production is quite significant because we know by 2030 the demand for almost all food commodities is going to rise by a significant percentage. Compared to 2012-13 level, there will be around 20 to 30 percentage increase in the demand for food grains, 42 percentage increase in the demand for milk, 20 percentage for meats, 33 percentage for vegetables, and 54 percentage for fruits compared to what was available in 2011 to 13 level. That means a quite significant increase in the demand for the food commodities. And we
Mm-hmm.
have to attain this production from ever decreasing land for agriculture. That means the productivity out of available land is to be increased. And we are also facing significant challenges, both biotic and abiotic. In the abiotic cases, we can say the climate change and the climate variability is affecting our agricultural production activities and imposing risk in the production process. And
Mm-hmm.
there are other kind of constraints in terms of we have to assure quality for the produce and we are targeting external markets through exports and their strict adherence to the quality guidelines is quite important. Now that quality concern is also quite important for the domestic markets. So in that way, the challenges are increasing day by day and our agricultural system has to respond to the challenges. For that, the research information that is created in the research houses is to be transmitted to the farmers and to make them trained and enabled to undertake the new challenges. That's why the agricultural extension system becomes quite important.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Dr. Suresh, your paper looks at the agricultural extension system in India all the way from the time of independence until the present day. So, I wanted to ask you what have been some of the significant shifts or trends that you have observed during this time?
Yeah. In this particular case, we can say that there are significant trends with respect to broadly two aspects. One is with respect to the focus,
Mm-hmm.
and second is with respect to the funding.
Mm-hmm.
So, in case of the focus, we had an extension system immediately after the independence itself. We had campaigns all started with the focus of increasing the food production. For example, we had a Grow More Food campaign in 1947, community development programs in 1952, National Extension Service scheme in 1953, and later on in 1960s we have intensive agricultural district program, intensive agricultural area program, and high yielding variety programs like that. That's the first phase we can see.
Mm-hmm.
And that's maybe up to mid 1960s. Then onwards, we have green revolution kind of technology, a great watershed in Indian agriculture. In fact, the green revolution has contributed significantly towards attaining the food security for India. Here, the
Mm-hmm.
focus was to develop high-yielding varieties and other technology packages which enable increased productivity. And that has yielded rich dividends over a period of time. And here, the extension system also responded towards that. The important principle we adopted at that time adopted is seeing is believing and learning by doing. That is, knowledge and training became quite significant. So there
Mm-hmm.
was a training and visit program initiated in 1974, and, and that was on a pilot scale in 1974, and later it was expanded to all parts of India. And that is modeled based on the experience of World Bank. Then there was National Agricultural Extension Program in 1984 to 1995. And ICAR also significantly contributed towards this. The Krishi Vigyan Kendras were established in 1992. in all parts of the country as a significant, that was a significant change that was happening in case of agricultural extension. So that
Mhm.
there was a tapering phase for agriculture, that green revolution period, and that was coincided with, that we can say, the structural adjustment programs at the national economy, where
Mhm.
more emphasis was towards macro level adjustments towards in Indian economy that was characterized by relatively low growth in funding, and the
Mhm.
focus was towards the privatization of extension system. I won't say that the extension system was privatized, but there was a large discussion towards privatization of
Mhm.
extension system. At the same time, we also faced farm distress. Reports of farm distress came from hinterlands of India, particularly from the rainfall and dry regions of India. And so there was a negative growth in the real uh, spending expenditure towards agricultural extension. And
Mhm.
that continued up to, we can say, something around mid 2000s, first decade of that, 2005. But 2005 onwards, there was an increased spending towards agricultural extension. And this phase 2005 to this latest period is also characterized by evolution of new technologies, particularly information and the communication technologies that has enabled new kind of extension towards agricultural system. So this is
Mhm.
the broader kind of focus changes in the extension system. And as I already mentioned, there was significant changes in spending pattern also. Usually it was English in trend, except a brief period of mid 90s to early 2005, where the real expenditure has declined.
Mhm. Mhm. One of the issues that constantly comes up throughout your paper, sir, is that the reality of Indian agriculture, that consists primarily of smallholder farmers, has posed a challenge to the agricultural extension system. Why does the agricultural extension system in India find it so difficult to accommodate the small farmers?
The small farmers are a very significant part of Indian agriculture. They
Mhm.
constitute about 85% of total farm holdings, and they contribute a significant part of Indian agriculture production, particularly food grains. So in
Mhm.
that way, the smallholders are very important, and their issues are to be addressed. But the problem with respect to that is that the smallholders being small is having operational holding is relatively small, and they need individual attention. That is
Mhm.
not an easy proposition compared to the large number of farm holdings and the huge smallholders operating in India. Second, we have some statistics. The percentage of farmers who access the information from any source uh, for large, medium, and small holders. In case of
Mhm.
large farmers, it is 54 percentage. Medium farmers, it is 51 percentage, and for small farmers, it is 38 percentage. This is as per the sample survey of National Sample Survey Organization in 2005.
Mhm.
And we know the smallholder farmers mainly relying on information from the progressive farmers and input dealers that the other formal uh, extension agencies. And the small farmers are scattered and they are all along in a district. So accessing them is also not so easy proposition. But another closely related issue is that to access these farmers who are smallholders, we need a sufficient number of staff and other infrastructure available with the agricultural extension system. But currently, our extension system is grossly understaffed, I must say. That is, one
Mhm. Mhm.
study in 2018 says that currently we have the total agricultural extension staff of around 1,40,000. That is the total number of posts created. So out of this, almost 90,000 posts are lying vacant.
Mhm. Mhm.
So that's why it is, we can say it is grossly understaffed. But we can say the total number of operational holding in India is something around 158 million operational holding, and total number of area farm, the crop area is 141 million hectares. So to cater to huge demand, uh, staff of 1,40,000 appears quite insignificant or quite low.
Mhm.
Ideally,
Mhm.
we say that uh, one extension officer has to cater to something around 750 operational holding. But currently, it is almost 1,162 operational holding per extension personnel, so it is not easy for any extension officer to contact any farmer in uh, to address such a huge challenge. And this number, the size varies. Like in case of Andhra Pradesh, we can say that uh, one extension person has to cater to 3,162 farm householdings, and this is one of the highest. And then there are huge variation with respect to the states. So these are the major challenges from one point of view. Another challenge is that our focus, extension system focus is individual crop based. If you see
Mhm.
how the farm operation happens, it is mostly an integrated farming system.
Mhm.
So we have to attune our extension orientation also towards this particular kind of cropping systems available in different parts and different kind of holders. Large holders may have large area under certain crops, but for small holders, area is diversified and they may take some crop for their household and some crops for the market. So in that way, our orientation also is to be changed towards the extended systems of cropping in different parts of the country.
Mhm.
This is a
Mhm.
challenge.
Mhm. Dr. Suresh, you had mentioned a little bit earlier, about the privatizing of the agricultural extension system. And I wanted to ask, what is the difference between the public and the private sector approach to agricultural extension? And I also remember that in your paper, you see the targeting of the same clients by multiple actors as a problem. So I want to know, why is it that you see it as a problem that you have multiple actors targeting the same clients?
Yeah, that is in case of public extension system, it is largely following an approach of encompassing control. It's a public goods. It is caters to the public source of information to a large number of people, generally without any charges, any fee, or any other conditionalities attached. So
Mhm.
naturally, the focus, as I told earlier, is mostly on the crop production, that too particularly field crops, not on other kind of crops which are having large individual uh, uh, horticultural crops or high value crops like that. I'm not saying that there is no attention, but what I'm saying is that the larger focus was on our food crops or field crops, not much on high value agriculture, or and the information was available for a large number of people. But in case of
Mhm.
private extension, it is more of customized in nature, and it is mostly catering to high value commodities or enterprises, and there are large number of players in case of the private extension. The major players, as we told earlier, is private corporate firms like input manufacturers in seed, agrochemicals, etc.,
Mhm.
consultancy firms by private parties, and contracting firms are there, non-governmental organizations. These are the kind of the spectrum of people who are operating in the case of private extension. There are
Mhm.
individual
Mhm.
based firms as well. But the public extension is funded by the governments. So this is
Mhm.
the major difference available in the that we can see in
Mhm.
case of public between public and private extension systems. Now there are different kind of extension agencies available, and the duplication of information is a major issue. Means one farmer may be targeted by different kind of agencies. Maybe public agencies will be there, private agencies will be there, and then the farmer who is receiving information from different kind of sources may have an issue to
Mhm.
synthesize the
Mhm.
and verify the information and to select the advice which is available for the farmers. So in that case, there is an issue if the duplicity of information is there and multiplicity of sources are available, and if there is a contradiction between these different kind of information, this is one issue. Second is that if multiple source of information is available to a farmer, we have to think about those farmers who are not having access to different kind of who don't doesn't have access to the information about agriculture. So in that
Mhm.
case, if we can concentrate on those farmers who are not having information in on improved agricultural activities, then that will be much better. We can have a large geographical coverage. So the
Mhm.
basic purpose is that if we can avoid multiplicity of sources, then it will be cost effective and it will avoid unnecessary passing of information which are not verified sometimes. So therefore, I see multiplicity of information sources and a problem, but rather we have to go for a convergence of different resources so that this the resource can be optimized and used. That's,
Mhm. You were mentioning earlier, sir, that the agricultural extension system is very understaffed. And I like that in your paper you bring into focus the actual people who are carrying out the work of agricultural extension. What are some of the challenges that are faced by the people who are currently in the agricultural extension system, and what support can be provided to them?
yeah. I was earlier mentioning that agricultural extension system is understaffed. That is one point. From one particular view. From another point of view, the kind of activities that an agricultural extension person handles are quite diverse. We cannot
Hmm.
confine it only within that agricultural extension framework or in that domain alone. They
Hmm.
undertake multiplicity of work. For example, in addition to their regular duties of dissemination of knowledge and technical intervention, the staff of agriculture departments, such as agriculture officers, undertake functions like implementation of government schemes, government-sponsored crop insurance programs, then support to procurement and marketing operations, supply of
Hmm.
agricultural inputs including seeds and fertilizers, quality checking of agrochemicals, seeds, and other inputs, then disposal of subsidies and other financial supports, crop loss estimation, and also assisting revenue officials in such times where the agricultural officer support is needed. So they have to undertake multiple operations other than their core function of agricultural extension. So we
I
can
see.
say
Hmm.
that there is use of their time available for agricultural extension activities. And then this is an age of transparency. So they have to
Hmm.
keep records of every transaction. And this is to be produced in case of any doubt or in case of any clarification. So
Hmm.
it increases the paperwork of the agriculture real extension workers. So they have to attend large number of meetings. They have to keep records, and they have to attend to the calls of the farmers as well. So in that way, they practically find problems. And other issue is
Hmm.
that this is the age of ICT, as
Hmm.
many staff are not adept in modern technologies and particularly information and communication technologies. So they need a training of the day to attend to the increased duties and the requirement in the fields.
Hmm.
Marketing has
Hmm.
become something which is very uh, information intensive. So in
Hmm.
that way, the challenges are new, and they have to get training. They have to be supported in with adequate staff, either permanent or temporary. So but these are some of the issues we face,
Hmm.
and they can be supported. After I was mentioning some issues, one is by giving training on modern cultivation practices in crop, livestock, and fisheries. And they have to
Hmm.
be supported with newer knowledge on ICT management. Uh, then they have to be also given support for formation of new institutional mechanisms, particularly farmer collectives, farmer producer organizations, cooperatives. Farmer producer organization is gaining momentum because government is also supporting formation of farmer producer organizations in times to come. It creates a lot of advantage in terms of economies of scale.
Hmm.
That is, the costs per farmer can be reduced, the transaction costs can be reduced, and they get better bargaining power, and gradually the farmer producer organizations can move towards larger organizations which can bargain with input and output suppliers. So in that way, the farmers has to be given training on different aspects of farming and newer technologies. These are
Hmm.
the support mechanisms that can be given. And overall, we have to say that the problem of understaffing is to be addressed.
Hmm. I think it's very interesting the use of ITC by these workers in the agricultural extension system. Could you tell us some examples of how ITC is used?
Information and communication technologies can be used particularly in case of identification of diseases, identification of pest attack, and its management. That is one aspect that can be used. For example, when a particular crop attack is there, the extension officers can use the modern technologies to identify uh, the diseases and also rely on these technologies for recommending management measures. Then there
Mm-hmm.
are ICTs available for marketing also. In case of marketing, farmers can be supported like ENAM that has happened in case of agriculture, and then the case of giving the up-to-date prices of the producers. These are the areas where the modern ICTs can be used for crop management. Some examples. There are not many
Mm-hmm.
examples
Mm-hmm.
where ICTs can be used. Nowadays,
Mm-hmm.
drones have come into agricultural usage.
Oh, I
There is
see. Mm-hmm.
another use of mechanization where the input application can be like fertilizer application can be made more easy and friendly and even more uniform by using drone technologies. So then
Mm-hmm.
satellite-based technologies are also there, particularly for a large area infected with certain kind of natural calamities and all. These
Mm-hmm.
technologies can also be used. These are the examples of ICT usage. In fact, our agriculture is becoming more knowledge and technology intensive
Mm-hmm.
nowadays, and this can be the technologies are becoming major aid for our agricultural growth.
Mm-hmm.
So agricultural extension workers have to be trained on different kind of technologies that is coming. Then when it's coming to aggregation, technologies can be used. Aggregation means the small amount of produce are produced by a large number of farmers. How it can be aggregated at a place so
Mm-hmm.
that it can be marketed more efficiently, where the modern technologies, including our WhatsApp groups, will be of
Mm-hmm.
use.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. In your paper, you mentioned two types of disparities in expenditure with the agricultural extension system. One is in the regional disparities across different parts of the country, and the other is the disparity between expenditure on crops and other allied sector. Could you tell us about why these disparities occur?
Yeah. In my paper, I discussed two kinds of disparity as you rightly highlighted. One is the
Mm-hmm.
geography-based disparity, and another is enterprise-based disparity.
Mm-hmm.
Coming to the geography-based disparity, but we can say that some of the regions receive lesser funding, proportionately lesser funding compared to their contributions in terms of area. For example, the dry regions, which account for about 60% of total agricultural lands, received only 23% of total funding in 2013. That is the statistics highlighted there. On the
Mm-hmm.
other hand, the irrigated regions accounted for 24% of agricultural lands and were allotted 33% of extension budgets. That means certain areas are having very less funding. But we know much of the production in future has to come from those areas which are rain-fed or dry regions and which are not irrigated. So we have
Mm-hmm.
to produce more from such areas which are resource scarce. So in that way, this scarcity is to be addressed. Another second kind of disparity is that some of the enterprises are not getting adequate funding. For example, in our total agricultural extension, a significant proportion goes to crop production only, not for other activities like livestock and fisheries.
Mm-hmm.
So this disparity also is addressed because livestock and fisheries are gaining much importance in recent days. We know as of late, of highest growth rates in gross value added is coming out of fisheries. So in
Mm-hmm.
that way, fishery sector and livestock sector also is of critical importance for stabilizing the income of the rural area, in the rural area. And, but we know why this is coming. Traditionally, our focus was towards crop production to address our immediate concern of food security. That's right. But now we
Mm-hmm.
know that our demand pattern for food is changing. We are moving towards high value commodities as well. Of course, there are issues of food accessibility to a large section of people, but generally, we know that the demand pattern also shifting towards high value crops and including livestock products.
Mm-hmm.
So this disparity in funding is also to be addressed, looking into our future needs as well. And now the why this happened is mainly, as I told earlier, those our major focus was towards food production.
Mhm.
Now that is changing towards nutritional aspect as well. We now see a commodity with its nutrient contents. So the country speaks about nutritional security. So we
Mhm.
have to move towards a more comprehensive approach of extension funding, and the disparities, geography as well as enterprise-based disparities is to be addressed so as to attain larger economic growth which covers larger areas as well and large number of enterprises as well.
Mhm. Mhm. Dr. Suresh, you identified two problems in the current approach of agricultural extension system in India, namely that they are essentially a top-down, unidirectional communication system, and that they largely offer a one-size-fits-all approach to research and extension. So, for my final question, I would like to ask, how would you reimagine or reinvent an agricultural system that involves the small farmers and is adapted to their local context?
This is a very interesting question. This question has implications for our future plans.
Mhm.
To me, this question essentially boils down towards governance and democratic decentralization. Why? Because farmers, they are private entrepreneurs. A large number of farmers are scattered and they take farming as a private enterprise.
Mhm.
Whereas our administrative mechanism is centered, the directions come from the top and it percolates down to all the to the lower level. So how to make a convergence of both these? The concerns of the farmers, which are highly localized, where
Mhm.
even the local agroecology is very important. It merges with the plans of the government. If these two can merge, then that will give a greater dividend or a greater result for the agricultural sector. For this, the concerns of the farmers are to be integrated with the larger plans. How this can be attained? This can be attained only if the farmers get an opportunity to convey the real issues with the authorities, with the
Mhm.
officials, or in a democratic system.
Mhm.
But that is not an easy proposition. There should be a mechanism for farmers to raise their concerns, like Gram Sabhas, where the farmers can come and they can raise their agricultural issues or the plans for the coming agricultural season and
Mhm.
the challenges they face, and this can be incorporated in the higher levels. These problems can be heard and the solutions can be developed incorporating the input from the farmers, and it can be technically verified by the officers, including those from agriculture, crop, livestock, irrigation. Who are the major stakeholders? Their inputs can be ensured for this, and the plans can be technically and financially verified. This can be aggregated at a certain level. For example, at the block level or the panchayat
Mhm.
level. The finer the granularity, the better. But it's not easy to increase the granularity, because plants usually cover a larger area. But if, say, for example, a block level agricultural plants can be developed by incorporating the suggestions of the farmers in that area, and this can be incorporated in the plans for agriculture, then that would be better. So that is
Mhm.
not an easy proposition. This needs training for all the stakeholders, including panchayat officials, uh, block level officers, and officers working in other departments and line departments, etc. They have to be trained properly towards
Mhm. Mhm.
developing this particular kind of planning approach. So essentially, it's a plan that is towards a decentralized approach. State
Mhm.
government also has to allot a significant funding to agriculture towards this decentralized approach. Then
Mhm.
this is to be supported with real-time governance and monitoring, including ICT. We have to take technology in every aspect of planning and agricultural development.
Mhm.
The kind of real-time data aggregation and solution providing uh, platform is to be developed. Maybe at the block level, where some kind of coordinating mechanism can be developed where the real-time inputs can be collected and it can be disseminated to the officers, and the advices can be taken, and it can be disseminated back to the farmers in a particular locality. Therefore,
Mm-hmm.
it needs involvement of all the stakeholders, including people's representatives, officers, as well as the full support of the government. If we can visualize such a system, it may have certain implications. Unless if we can run some kind of pilots which uses this, it
Mm-hmm.
can give some evidences and uh, some kind of results that can be some evidences that can be used for further streamlining the programs and large scale implementation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think those are all my questions for today. Thank you once again, Dr. Suresh. It has been a pleasure speaking with you.
Yeah, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to speak with uh, this podcast. And it's a great experience for me. And thank you for your cooperation. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I also want to thank our listeners for joining us. You can find links to the paper discussed in today's episode in the show notes. And to experience all that EPW has to offer, head over to epw.in today and subscribe. This is Johan saying bye bye and see you next time on Research Radio.